Good morning. Today we're going to look at a game called Surfing Safari. Let's go over and take a look. That's the front of the game. So we're going to open the door, take a look inside. What this game consists of is 3 play fields, 3 tiers. And you have various cups in the shape of animals and whatnot here, as you can see. And the purpose of this is you want a quarter to fall into one of these slots here, or say here, or down here. So what happens is you will flip your quarter up using this flipper here. Here's the hammer. I pull the trigger, bang. So your quarters are inserted down this slot. And while we're here, I'll talk about this slot. What happens here is we get quarter jams in here occasionally, so this slot has to be opened up and cleared. That's one of the common problems with that game. As well as, because this has a spring inside and pins, this does come loose because, again, people really slam on this gun like you wouldn't believe. It breaks up like that, really, really hard. So getting back to this area here, you flip your quarter up and it can land on any of these play fields, which move. Or it can land up in this trough here. And what happens is, if you accumulate a lot of quarters here, they can be dumped down onto this play field. And how do you do that, yes? You've got to hit several of these. And if you do that properly, this whole tray will dump, and then you have 3 opportunities to get more points. Here's another aperture. The eyes are apertures as well, as you can see. Right, and there's the teeth, the trough. That's the LED display. Here's the door, front door inside. Let's stand back so you can see it. So you have your typical ticket machine, no big deal. Ticket trough, your power supply. Down here we have all the guts. Again, this machine is getting ready for season's opening, so we have to clean it. That's where the coin box is. Slides in and out. There's a coin counter. This big piece of plastic here is a coin trough, and it slides down there, and every coin that goes through gets counted. Down here, that's our sound board, and this is the main board itself. The one thing I don't really care for is using telephone connectors here. I mean, maybe it was easier for them, but after a while we do have to recrimp those connectors, and that's a common problem with this game, as you can see up here, because I used to work as a telephone man, and I know you only get a certain amount of life out of these things, especially if they're being stressed on even lightly over the years. So after a while, when we start having sensor problems, that's what we do, is you just cut that and recrimp it, and usually it's good to go. The same with these cups up here. They all have little sensors in them, and they use telephone connectors. Okay, enough whining on my part. Let's go around to the back here. So this is the back. That's the eyes, and that's the switches, as you can see. These are the switches for the teeth. Right, I'll move on this. See, like that. So that hits a switch down there. There's the motor for the trough. That's the back of the LED display. There's the big connector. One of the things is, you may notice we put silicone and extra fasteners on everything here, and as I said, that's because of the shock and trauma that these games go through. You have to see it to believe it, though. Around here is the gear, and each tier has a tube here, and that's how each tier turns. Down here, this is the device. This is the cam arm. And there's the gearbox motor that drives this cam arm. And what does that do? Well, those characters you saw on the front, the cups, the surfers, the snakes, this is how they move back and forth. I'll fire it up shortly to show you. And while I'm here, I'll explain. One of the common problems we get is, because of this assembly here, if you get any buildup of grease or anything sticky, it causes incredible resistance, especially since you have all of these. So if any of them get gummed up substantially and then another one, it puts a huge load on this gearbox motor. And usually what happens is we use this type of cotter pin. That way, this pin will snap if the resistance gets too high, because that resistance can strip these gear motors. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about. And these gear motors are not cheap. So we use a cotter pin as a safety. The other thing is, in this game, quarters can get in places like you wouldn't believe. I mean, you wouldn't think a quarter could get in there, but believe me, it can. Now, this mechanism here, I'm gonna have to turn the light on to show you, is the mechanism that slides the cobras back and forth. And what happens is, sorry about that. Again, that has to be lubricated with a proper lubricant that is not sticky or doesn't gather dust. Again, quarters get down into that trough. Here's the gear motor. Again, these gear motors, after a few years, they go to, because they get hot. Here's the bottom tier gear motor. And these are all the cables going up to the various sensors here. Okay, let's turn it on and see what happens. All right. So there's the motor turning, as you can see. And I'll just pan back if I can. And there. That's what she looks like. So all of them work essentially the same. And here's the bottom tier here. Again, as I stress, you have to keep these tubes perfectly clean. That's really imperative. It's all good. There we go. So there's the oscillating tray that moves back and forth. Go. So we'll go around to the front now, take a look inside. So there's the display. There's the teeth. And here's the cups. So once again, common problem with these, the connectors come loose and fail, and that usually gives us some grief there. Or sometimes even those little sensors, you could see one of them there, they come out of alignment and we can put that in place. So the teeth are flashing as they should be. So let's see if I can dump a 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing happens, right? And do you know why? Because I didn't trip this sensor. So we have to trip this sensor. Because I'm out in the sunlight, it can't really see anything. So now I've tripped the sensor. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's dip it again. There. So it's dumped all those quarters out, and you get a big payout. And you have a certain amount of time, and then it retracts, it hits the teeth to reset itself, and then it will go down to a particular level. All the programming is done down here on the main board, and I have to tell you, I would prefer that if the manufacturers could start installing some provision for a proper keyboard rather than have to rely on displays. I think that's archaic. That's my main criticism of this game, and most games in general, that we can't use modern equipment. We have to go back to reading displays, and that's not friendly to most people. It's not user friendly. Anyways, I want to thank you people for your time and your interest, and Have a good one.